Well, good morning, everybody. I want to thank everyone for the opportunity to be here in front of you today. And I want to thank all you for what you do on a daily basis for the residents of Idaho. My name's Bill Hyab. I am the Bureau Chief and State Service Officer for the Idaho Division of Veteran Services. I tell everybody I have the most confusing job in the world because nobody knows who I work for. I'm located in the Boise VA Regional Office. So everybody thinks I'm a VA employee, and I'm not. I work for the state of Idaho, but I represent veterans and family members on behalf of about 8 different accredited veteran service organizations that are chartered by Congress to help veterans and family members with their benefits free of charge, like the Veterans of Foreign Wars, the American Legion, AMVETS, Fleet Reserve, Marine Corps League. So again, I work for the Idaho Division of Veteran Services. They also oversee the operation of the 3 state veterans homes, the one in Boise, the one in Lewiston, the one in Pocatello, and we have a 4th one now under construction in Post Falls that's planning on being open and operational by October of next year. We also have the State Veterans Cemetery here in Boise, 2nd one in Blackfoot. And don't confuse that with the Snake River VA Cemetery, National Cemetery up in Buell. That's part of the VA's Rural Cemetery Initiative for any states that do not have a current national cemetery. They created this. And I'll talk more about the cemetery here in a little bit. And then IDVS also oversees the state approval agency for the post 9/11 GI Bill program for education benefits for the current generation of veterans. What I like to do is start out talking about the VA because there's a lot of confusion, just like with any federal organization. A lot of people think the VA is one big giant all-encompassing beast, and it's 3 standalone organizations that all do something different, use different computer systems, and don't talk to each other very well. Why work in the regional office? That falls under VBA, Veteran Benefits Administration. There's currently 56 VA regional offices across the world. I say the world because there's one in Manila, Philippines, and the rest are scattered throughout the country here. VBA, they do a multitude of things. They'll grant service-connected disability compensation for veterans, non-service connected pension programs, which is a means-based program, VA life insurance programs, education programs, vocational rehabilitation, the GI Bill for the buying a house on the VA's GI Bill. They have special adaptive housing, special housing adaptation, burial benefits, and survivor benefits. That all falls under VBA. Then you have VHA, Veterans Health Administration. They're there to take care of people. And I'll circle back around with all the ways that you can become eligible for VA medical care. The third leg of the VA is NCA, National Cemetery Administration. They have all the policy and procedures governing the operation of the veteran cemeteries. Again, the state cemetery in Boise and Blackfoot, those are state cemeteries, but they follow all the same policies and procedures that the national cemeteries do. So let's start with cemeteries first. Any veteran that meets veteran status is eligible for free internment in the state veteran cemeteries, whether that is casket internment. If you go to the state cemetery and you see the upright headstones, those where all the casket burials are. They have the columbarium wall for cremains. They have ground internment of cremains. And that's if you see the flat markers near the committal shelter. And then they have scatter gardens up on top. So again, any veteran can be interred free of charge. And I use the term veteran. Here in Idaho, along with most communities, there's a lot of people that served in the National Guard or reserves. If somebody served in the National Guard, never did a Title 10 mobilization, never deployed anywhere, never served on AGR, active guard orders, or never got disabled and got a VA disability rating with the VA, they do not meet veteran status. and they're not eligible for internment in the state veteran cemetery or the national cemetery. If they were in the Guard or Reserves and served 20 years and they have a 20-year letter that they're retired, now they are eligible for internment in the cemetery. And again, if they get injured during a period of drill or annual training and they end up getting a service-connected disability, then they meet veteran status. Also veteran status, if they served before 1980, they had to serve 90 days or longer other than active duty for training to meet veteran status. So if all they did was go to basic training or boot camp in their MOS school and then serve in the Guard or Reserve the rest of the time, they don't meet the 90 days other than active duty for training to meet veteran status. If they served after 1980, they had to serve 24 consecutive months of other than active duty for training to meet veteran status, or complete their whole period of mobilization. So when the 116th Cavalry Brigade with the Idaho Guard mobilized for Iraq in 2005, it doesn't matter if they're on 1-year mobilization orders or 6-month mobilization orders, as long as they complete that whole period of mobilization orders, they meet veteran status. Now, the Code of Federal Regulations, 38 CFR, says any veteran that is other than a dishonorable discharge is eligible for VA benefits. That's a misnomer as well. Anyone that serves knows there's an honorable discharge, a general under honorable conditions, a other than honorable discharge, bad conduct discharge, dishonorable. For VA purposes, the only thing that's honorable is honorable or general under honorable. If someone received an OTH other than honorable, they're going to have a review of the file to see what exactly they did. They may be barred from any benefits based on what they did to earn that other than honorable discharge. And a BCD, we call the big chicken dinner, or dishonorable discharge, those are federal felony convictions. And I can guarantee you with almost 100% certainty the VA is going to bar them from anything. So again, as long as they meet veteran status, they can be interred at state cemetery for free. Now, there's an upper section of the state cemetery. That's considered a private cemetery owned by the state. Pretty weird, still part of the state cemetery. It costs the family $500 to bury a family member on the upper part of the cemetery. A spouse can be interred with their veteran that they're married to, but they charge the spouse, the family, for whatever the current plot allowance rate is. Currently, that's about $800. So a veteran can be interred for free. Spouse is about $800, the current plot allowance rate to be interred. If husband and wife are both veterans, they earn their own burial spaces right next to each other. So they'll just go right down the row and inter veterans as they pass, unless they interred one that's married to another veteran. They will skip a spot, so when the spouse passes, they can be interred next to each other. My wife died in 2011 while I was still on active duty. She's interred up at the upper section. So she's currently in a position, my information and hers is inscribed on the front of it. So when it's my time to go, if my current wife says, I don't want anything to do with you, and kicks me to the curb, they'll just put my casket on top of my wife's. They'll destroy the headstone, put my information on the front and hers on the back. So that's how all that works. Now, I bring up the Snake River Cemetery out in Buell, because again, that's run by the federal government. That's a national cemetery. Biggest difference between the state and Snake River, the federal national cemeteries do not charge for spouses to be interred. So again, $800 for a spouse to be interred at the state veteran cemeteries. It's free 90 free out there at the Snake River National Cemetery in Buell. So that's how the cemeteries work. And I brought packages out there. A veteran can get pre-registered, fill out the information, submit a DD-214 showing they meet veteran status, their marriage certificate with their spouse. The cemetery will send information back saying we received the pre-registration information. That way they're guaranteed once they pass, they've already got everything they need except for the death certificate. So that saves a lot of time and trouble for the family that all the information's already there. All right, that's cemetery. Going back to the VA Medical Center, there's multiple ways a veteran can be interred at the medical center. Boy, I messed that one up, huh? So not every veteran is eligible for health care at the VA hospital. Again, they got to meet veteran status. Like I said, 90 days other than active duty for training if they served before 1980, 24 months or completed full mobilization, not have anything considered dishonorable for VA purposes. If a veteran served boots on ground Vietnam, they're eligible for enrollment at VA Medical Center. If they served in Desert Storm, they're eligible for enrollment in VA medical care. If they served in Iraq or Afghanistan, they're eligible for care for 5 years following leaving active duty after serving in Iraq or Afghanistan. If they have a service-connected disability with a VA regional office, they're eligible for care. And how that works, if someone's rated 0% and that's all they're rated is 0, the VA will treat them for that one condition and that's it, or multiple conditions all rated 0. Best description is hearing loss. 90% of everyone service connected for hearing loss through the VA is rated 0%, and that entitles them to free hearing aids at the VA Medical Center. Most people, low-level hearing loss, that's all they need to hear well is have hearing aids, so that's why they do that. If someone is rated 10% or higher service connected, now the medical center will treat them for anything service connected or not, but they may charge them a copay for anything not service connected based on what their combined annual income is. If someone is rated 50% or higher, that makes them priority group 1, and now the medical center will treat them for anything service connected or not with no copays. So we talked about Vietnam, Desert Storm, within 5 years serving in Iraq or Afghanistan, have a service connected disability. Non-service connected pension, if they're in receipt of that, they're eligible for VA medical care. If they have one of the conditions that is presumptive to Camp Lejeune contaminated drinking water, radiation exposure, herbicides from Vietnam, they're also eligible for treatment for those conditions. 99% of the time, they're going to be service connected for that. If none of that qualifies somebody, the only other way they're eligible to get enrolled in VA medical care is to qualify based on income. Currently, for a married veteran in our local area, you have to make less than $43,000 a year combined to qualify for VA health care. If they make more than that and none of those other things pertain to them, they're not eligible for VA health care. All that makes sense for the VA Medical Center. All right, so let's talk about me and the VA regional office. First of all, I've got offices scattered all over the state. I know we had a gentleman say he's in Lewiston. I have 2 service officers in Lewiston. They used to be co-located at the State Veterans Home, but because of COVID, we were forced to pull all of our service officers out of the homes. So the team in Lewiston is now at 16th Avenue. It's Health and Welfare Building in Lewiston. I have 2 in Post Falls. I have 3 service officers in Caldwell. There's myself and 4 others at the Boise VA Regional Office, 2 in Twin Falls, 2 in Pocatello. Everything we do is free of charge to the veteran, and we don't have the market cornered. There's also a DAV office right next to us in the regional office, and there's 3 service officers who work for the DAV. And we meet with people and help get them qualified for what they're eligible for. Now, again, a veteran is eligible to file for one of 2 different types of claims: disability, service-connected disability compensation, non-service connected pension. Now, there's 5 different ways the VA will service connect somebody. A direct service connection requires proof on active duty that chronic injury, illness, disease, condition manifested on active duty. It's documented in their medical records. They still have that condition today, and the VA medical opinion is the current conditions directly related to what happened on active duty. A lot of the patients that you all work with, this is going to be difficult. There was a fire in 1973 at the National Archives. Everybody that served in the Army that got out before 1960, their records were destroyed in the Fire 73. Everyone that served in the Army, Air Corps, Air Force that separated before 1962, their records are burnt in the Fire 73. Again, makes it very difficult to prove service-connected disability because their records aren't there, so it's hard to prove. Not to mention, a lot of people that served in World War II and Korea, they did not go to sick call when they injured their back or their hip or something like that. So it's not going to be in there. So unless they're treated for gunshot wounds, something severe like that, post-traumatic stress disorder does not require a whole lot of medical records. So we can still do PTSD claims for veterans, even if their records are burned up in the Fire 73. And we do a lot of hearing loss claims. The VA, I think, really feels sorry for World War II and Korea veterans because so many of them came back, just wanted to get back on with their life and did not file claims, and someone else has it worse than me, let them file for this. VA realizes that, and we've helped a lot of people with claims. Let me backtrack real quick. The key to all this is we need the DD 214, or if they served during World War II, it's called a certificate of separation and discharge. They don't have DD 214s. That did not come about till after the World War II generation. And we need that so we can see dates of service, type of discharge, again, to make sure it was not dishonorable for VA purposes. And that's also going to tell us where they served at, potentially to help get them more records. If they do not have their DD 214s because of COVID, this has become a lot more difficult because the National Archives has been closed forever because of COVID. And now they're trying to get back up operational. They got a huge backlog. I was just telling you before, we got a World War II Marine first time claim. It took 1.5 years to get his claim done, waiting on the National Archives to find his medical records because he was Marine, one of the few in the proud. So his records did not get burned up in the Fire of 73 like the Army did. So we can request those DD 214s and discharge papers, but that is really going to delay everything. So hopefully the family has that. All right, so we talk about direct service connection. Then we got an aggravated service connection. So aggravated, when they took their physical to join the military, if it was determined they had something pre-existing, wasn't disqualifying, they're going to let them join anyway, and that pre-existing condition was made worse beyond natural progression, that is a aggravation of a pre-existing condition. Then we got secondary service connection. So if somebody gets service connected for anything, for any reason, and it causes something else to happen to them, that can get granted on a secondary basis. Type 2 diabetes. They are only going to get 20% for type 2 diabetes. But the VA will rate peripheral neuropathy of each extremity separately as a secondary condition to that type 2 diabetes. And if it goes into their eyeballs and they've got diabetic retinopathy or their kidneys, diabetic nephropathy, all those can get approved on a secondary basis. So we can never forget to look to see is whatever they have causing something else to happen. Then we got presumptive service connection. By and large, most veterans, especially older veterans, we're getting them approved from presumptive basis. So there's multiple presumptive conditions. The biggest one for the Vietnam veterans is the herbicide presumptives. Everyone calls it Agent Orange. There was Agent White, Agent Purple, Agent Orange. Agent Orange was the color of the band on the barrel. People say I was sprayed so bad I turned orange. No, you didn't. Agent Orange is a clear liquid, but never let the truth get in the way of a good story. As long as someone can show they were in Vietnam more than 2 seconds, the VA concedes they were exposed to herbicides, and they just generically call it Agent Orange. Within the past year, they also approved the Blue Water Vietnam Veterans Act. So anyone that's on board ship within 12 nautical miles, they are conceded exposed to herbicides. And the VA worked with the Department of the Navy to go through all the ship's logs to track what ship was where, so they can track. They've got to make sure that ship was within 12 nautical miles for them to concede exposure to herbicides. You would not believe how many ships skirted right outside the 12 nautical miles. Especially if it's an aircraft carrier, that's a big target. You don't want to bring it within range of enemy artillery and rockets. So if you hear they served on ship, good chance it did not go within 12 nautical miles. If they served on C-123 ground crew or flight crew, those were the planes that sprayed the majority of the herbicide agents, and they can show that they worked on them all the way through 1986. The VA concedes exposure to herbicides. If they served in the DMZ and Korea, between North and South Korea, between 1968 and 1971, the VA concedes exposure. And if they served in Thailand, and they can prove the majority of their duties kept them on the perimeter of the air bases in Thailand, again, not easy to do, the VA concedes exposure. If the veteran served in Thailand and said, I had to cross the wire every day going into the village to go drink beer, the VA says, no, that does not concede exposure to herbicides. So if we can get them in any of those ways, and they currently have prostate cancer, type 2 diabetes, coronary artery disease, ischemic heart disease, past myocardial infarction, lung cancer, laryngeal cancer, any of the respiratory cancers, Parkinson's disease, multiple myeloma, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, hairy cell leukemia. They just added bladder cancer, hypothyroidism, or Parkinson-like symptoms. All those are conceded caused by herbicide exposure. So again, we get a lot of Vietnam veterans. They've got no proof anything ever happened to them on active duty. If they got one of those conditions, we can get them approved on a presumptive basis. Very easy to get approved. If someone served at my old stomping grounds, Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, between 1953 and December 31st, 1987, the dry cleaners out the main gate was dumping all the benzene and dry cleaning solvent straight in the ground and went into the drinking water, contaminated people for years. If they have kidney cancer, bladder cancer, liver cancer, multiple myeloma, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, or Parkinson's disease, and they were at Lejeune, New River Air Station, Camp Johnson, Camp Geiger, Stone Bay Rifle Range for 30 days or longer, we can get them approved that way. If anyone can prove they were exposed to radiation, I just mentioned to Travis, World War II veteran, one of the first ones on the ground in Nagasaki after the atomic bombs were dropped. If we have that, or somewhere along the line, they can prove they were exposed to radiation and they have any form of cancer, that's presumptive to radiation exposure. Anyone that served Desert Storm forward over in Southwest Asia, so Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and they have irritable bowel syndrome, chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, or undiagnosed illness of Southwest Asia, that's presumptive to Southwest Asia service. There's discussion about burn pits, and I know we're starting to see younger and younger veterans we're taking care of. Currently, there is nothing approved for burn pit exposure. The VA is collecting a whole bunch of information to see is there a lot of veterans that are coming down with the same thing. Secretary of the VA just announced that they're starting the rulemaking process to consider chronic respiratory conditions like asthma, rhinitis, and sinusitis. Again, that is beginning the rulemaking process to consider. You can't get any more gray and squishy than that. There's nothing saying that the law has approved this. So if they file a claim, it's going to sit there until they decide what to do. So those are the presumptive conditions. There's also ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. As long as someone has 90 days or more active duty and gets ALS, that's presumptive to active duty service, and they will get service connected. And we're seeing a lot of those claims. If they get diagnosed with multiple sclerosis within 7 years of leaving active duty, that's also presumptive. All right. And then the last way they'll service connect is 1151. So if they're treated at the VA Medical Center and due to negligence or malpractice, they cause a chronic condition, then we can prove, if we can prove that it was negligence or malpractice, which again is not easy. Every surgical procedure, you have to review everything that could go wrong, including death, and they still have to sign off saying they're acknowledging this. So you got to prove they really went above and beyond to mess you up. So you got direct service connection, aggravated, secondary, presumptive, and 1151. What does that do for somebody? If they get rated 0%, again, they're considered a disabled veteran. No monetary value comes in, but they can get treated for that condition free of charge at the medical center. If someone gets rated 10% or higher, now they receive $145 a month tax exempt. 10% also if they use VA home loan guarantee to buy or refinance a house, they waive the funding fee. And also 10% VA medical center will treat you for anything service connected or not, but may charge a copay for anything not service connected. 20% or higher, someone's eligible for voc rehab. I know you're not working a lot of veterans that are trying to go back to work and can't do so because their condition. 30% or higher, VA pays extra for dependents. 50% or higher. This does a couple things. Not only makes them priority group 1 at the VA medical center, but if they're a retiree, 20+ year retiree, if they're rated 40% or less by the VA, the retirement pay from DFAS, Defense Finance and Accounting, is reduced by the amount paid by the VA. If they're 50% or higher, that triggers CRDP, concurrent receipt of retired pay. Now they get their full VA pay and their full retirement pay from DFAS. 70% or higher, if they have to go into long-term care, skilled nursing, and it's because of one of their service-connected disabilities, the VA medical center will consider paying for that long-term care. So that's important for 70% or higher if it's a service-connected condition. If someone's rated 100% by the VA, there's all kinds of ancillary benefits that go in. The spouse and any children are eligible for VA health insurance. The spouse and children, if there are any, are eligible for Chapter 35 dependent education assistance. The veteran can get free dental at the VA medical center for 100% permanent total. Also, if they have to go into long-term care and use a VA, or as you were, the state veterans homes, they can go in there free if they're able to accept them. And then the VA medical center pays for that. So 100% is important on all kinds of fronts. So that is service-connected disability compensation. The other benefit a veteran is eligible for, it's called non-service connected pension. Pension is a means-based program. It's all based on net worth, their income, out-of-pocket, non-refundable medical expenses, and current health. So first part of pension, veteran had to have 1 day of wartime service. If they separated after 1946 and before 1950, when the Korean War started, they're not eligible for pension because they own the wartime service. If they separated after January 1955 and did not and got out before 1964, before Vietnam started, they're not eligible. They don't meet the wartime service. And if they got out after May 5th, 1975, and or joined after 75 and got out before Desert Storm started, they're not eligible. They don't meet wartime status. They got to meet wartime status. VA has implemented a 36-month look-back period to make sure they did not gift away assets to become eligible. Then it goes into their net worth. They have to report all their assets, what they have in checking account, savings account, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, IRAs. If there's a trust, what's in the schedule, the assets of the trust. And again, this is combined assets. They add all that together. Their home does not count against them unless their home sits on more than 2 acres of land. If it sits on more than 2 acres, we got to come up with fair market value of the land. So they add all that together. Then they take all forms of income, Social Security, retirement, whatever, for both veteran and the spouse, if there's a spouse. They take 12 months of income, they add it to the assets. Then they subtract out 12 months of out-of-pocket, non-refundable medical expenses. So when you take the assets plus annual income minus 12 months of out-of-pocket, non-refundable medical expenses, they have to be below $130,000 to qualify. VA wants to make sure that they're not trying to save assets to give away to somebody after they pass. This is the help after their assets are gone. If they meet the net worth requirement, the next part of it is the VA assigns a pension level based on what the health of the veteran is. Again, if it's a veteran married to a spouse, it doesn't matter how bad the spouse is and how expensive that long-term care is. It's all based on the health of the veteran. If the veteran can live on their own and take care of themselves, that's a basic pension rate. If the veteran can live on their own and take care of themselves, but they're indoors all day, they need someone to pick them up and drive them to medical appointments and help them get out of the house, it's a housebound rate. If their health is so bad, they need help with activities of daily living, bathing, dressing, feeding, transferring, toileting, that's the aid and attendance rate. There's a physical exam form that the VA has, a 21-2680, that it's for housebound status or regular need of aid and attendance that the VA requires that a doctor fills out on what their current health is and what they need help with, so they can see do they qualify for the housebound rate or the aid and attendance rate. VA then assigns what's called a max annual pension rate based on what health condition the veteran is in. So then it starts coming down to how much money do you make a month and how much are you spending out-of-pocket non-refundable medical expenses, and how does that apply to the max annual pension rate? For most veterans, the amount is so low, most veterans don't qualify for this till their health's so bad that they're at the aid and attendance rate, need help with activities of daily living, and they're in assisted living or skilled nursing, because that's usually a whole lot more than what they're getting a month. If it's a single veteran at the aid and attendance rate and their medical expenses are more than their income, the absolute most they can get from the VA is $1,936 a month. They still get their retirement pay and their Social Security, and then they get that. Again, a lot of people, that's still not enough to pay for everything. And this just helps until all their assets are burned up and they have to apply for Medicaid. If it's a married veteran, again, aid and attendance rate and medical expenses are more than their income, they can get $2,200, and I think it's $60, $2,260, somewhere around there. So that's how the two benefits work. Now, if they're in skilled nursing and go on Medicaid, we got to report that to the VA because they're going to drop it down to the $90 rate if they're in a Medicaid approved facility, skilled nursing, and Medicaid's paying for everything, then they can keep $90. Now, if the veteran dies, all money shut off. I don't know how many surviving spouses come in and think, well, my veteran spouse told me I get to continue receiving their award. They do not. It stops. Then they have to apply for one of two survivor benefits. Real quick, there's two burial benefits. If a veteran dies of a service-connected condition or a presumptive condition they were eligible for or never filed for, the VA will pay a one-time payment of $2,000 for a service-connected burial benefit. If the veteran was receiving monetary benefits from the VA, either through service-connected disability or non-service-connected pension, or pass away at a VA medical facility, they'll pay one-time payment of $300 for a non-service connected burial benefit. If they're getting the non-service connected burial benefit and they're interred in a private cemetery, the VA will also pay the plot allowance rate of $800. If they're getting the service connected benefit, they don't pay plot allowance. $2,000 is the max they get. So if they weren't receiving any monetary benefits, did not pass away in a VA medical facility, VA pays nothing towards the funeral. Again, they can still be interred free of charge at the state cemetery, but it's up to the family to pay the funeral home for whatever they charge. So that's how the burial benefits work. Now, survivor benefits. If a veteran passed away from a service-connected condition or from a condition they were eligible for or never filed for, the surviving spouse can get what's called DIC, dependency indemnity compensation. They had to be married longer than a year. I don't know how many times I see we just got married last month before the veteran died. They're not eligible for anything. The VA does not approve deathbed benefits. Along with DFAS, they do not either. That's through the retired pay through Department of Defense. Had to be married for a year or longer. So as long as they were married for a year or longer, So I talk about something they may be eligible for. There's a lot of veterans that don't know what their benefits are. They're a Vietnam veteran. They've had type 2 diabetes and coronary artery disease for the majority of their life. They've never filed a claim with the VA, and their death certificate says type 2 diabetes and coronary artery disease as cause of death or contributing cause of death. That spouse is eligible for DIC based off of that. One thing we're seeing a lot of right now in the world of COVID, some of these hospitals are putting COVID-19 as a cause of death and leaving everything else blank. We got veterans rated 100% for coronary artery disease with congestive heart failure. The fact that they just put COVID-19 on there, they just crushed any chance of getting survivor benefits for that surviving spouse. So we're having to send the family back and request amended death certificates to try to add some of these service-connected conditions as a contributing cause of death, drags everything out forever. So if you can scream at the highest mountaintops, find out what the veteran is service connected for and ask, can we include this as a contributing cause of death on the death certificate? That is huge when it comes to survivor benefits for the surviving spouse. So as long as that's on the death certificate, the surviving spouse is eligible for DIC, $1,357.56 a month. Doesn't matter if the veteran is getting $9,000 a month with special monthly compensation for ALS, $1,357.56 is the most they're going to get on DIC. Now, if the veteran's rated 100% for 8 years or longer and married to the same spouse 8 years or longer, now they're eligible for the enhanced rate of DIC, which adds $288 to that $1,357.56. If the spouse requires aid and attendance, help with activities of daily living, then the spouse is also eligible to get an additional $320 for the aid and attendance benefit on top of the $1,357.56. So that's how DIC works. Last benefit is survivor or the spouse's pension. VA calls it the improved death pension. People usually get offended when I throw out, let's see if you're eligible for improved death pension. That's just, they've got 3 different pension programs depending on when the VA approved this in the federal law. And the current version of pension is called the improved death pension. It works just like veterans pension does. The veteran had to have 1 day of wartime service or they don't qualify for it. And then it goes into the whole means test with the net worth. So add up all of their assets, 36-month look back period to make sure they didn't transfer anything away. 12 months of income added on there, assign a pension rate based on their health, and then out-of-pocket non-refundable medical expenses, and how does that compare to the max annual pension rate. Now, if a surviving spouse is eligible for the aid and attendance rate, and their medical expenses are more than their income, the absolute most a surviving spouse can get is $1,244 a month. So it's a lot less than the veterans. Now, if a veteran dies, the spouse remarries, that spouse is not eligible to file for pension. Even if they divorce that next spouse, they're never allowed to file for pension again because they remarried after the veteran died, unless they married another veteran and they're eligible for pension based on that veteran service. DIC is different. DIC, if a surviving spouse is eligible for DIC, if they remarry before the age of 56, I think they just moved it to 57, they lose DIC because they remarried before 57. But if that marriage ends in death or divorce, they're eligible to reapply for DIC on that first spouse that died. If they wait and remarry after the age of 57, they continue to receive DIC. So there's all kinds of twists and turns with all this. And then if they're a retiree, if the veteran was a retiree, it's important to find out, did that veteran pay into survivor benefit program? If they did, And again, that's based on their retirement from the military. If they paid into SBP, DFAS withholds 6% of their monthly retirement pay each month. And then the spouse is eligible to collect 55% of their retired pay once that veteran passes. Our office can also help with the paperwork to DFAS to apply for their survivor benefit plan. Not everybody took it, because why should I take this and you withhold 6% of my retired pay each month? If something happens to me, the spouse can figure it out. Believe it or not, a lot of people look at it that way. It used to be you could not have DIC and SBP. If you're eligible for both, you could not get survivor benefit plan through Defense Finance and Accounting and DIC from the VA. That law just changed. Now they can. However, pause for effect, they're implementing this over a 3-year period. So what they're doing is, if they're eligible starting February 1st, 2021, they get their full DIC payment from the VA, $1,357.56. And they're only getting 1/3 of the amount that they were going to get from the survivor benefit plan. Starting February 1st, 2022, they get their full DIC amount, and they get 2/3 of the survivor benefit amount. And February 1st, 2023, they get the full DIC and the full SBP. Dumbest thing ever heard, but that's how they're doing it. So we talked about VA Medical Center, the cemeteries, the VA Regional Office, service-connected disability, non-service-connected pension, burial benefits, survivor benefits. What questions do I have? I know it's all clear as mud. And see, that's why they have people like us. They have to go to training twice a year to stay up on all the changes with the VA and all the changes with the 38 CFR, because someone can really screw this up bad. Yes, sir.
I got a question. Oh, someone else.
Is it written anywhere? So right behind you, I've got different flyers for different presumptive conditions. I don't think the Agent Orange one includes the bladder cancer or hypothyroidism, because that just got approved within the last. Secretary of the VA just gave VA approval to start working those on May 28th of this year. We've got the flyers there for pension that has all the max annual pension rates, the survivor's pension, different benefits within the state of Idaho. So the VA used to come out every year with a VA benefits handbook, but that got expensive, printing out new books every year. And no federal organization has gone through as many changes in such a short period of time as a VA. So by the time they would print a new book, it was already outdated with all the changes being implemented. So now everything is on va.gov. That's their one-stop shop. I realize most of the veterans that we're assisting here are elderly and not in good shape, and the last thing anyone can do is get on va.gov and figure it out. That's why they can call our office or Travis, hey, we got this going on, I'm on it, and we take care of them. So that's what we do. And a lot of people contact us. I got no idea why I'm contacting you. Here's what I did, here's where they were, or here's where my husband was, or whatever, and we figure out what we can get them approved for. All right, someone on Zoom said they had a question.
Yeah, you said that hold on, for VA medical care for a married veteran, the limit was $43,000. Is there a single veteran limit?
You know, I think it's right around $35,000, $38,000 a year. It's kind of a moving target, and it's different for every part of the country, depending on how many veterans that veteran VA medical center can handle. But it's right around $38,000.
Okay, and you said when you started off the burial Bennett discussion, you said that you can get interned for free, but not like the burial is not paid for. I was kind of fuzzy on what the difference was.
So when someone passes away and the family takes them to whatever funeral home for the cremains or paying for the casket and embalming and all that, you know, the family has to pay for that first. And then once that is paid for, the VA will pay, if it's a service-connected burial, the $2,000 to help pay towards that, or $300 non-service connected. But the internment, it's free. Opening, closing of the grave, and actual placement in the ground, that's free of charge if they use the State Veteran Cemetery or the Snake River National Cemetery. There's also other things. People every now and then want to send the deceased veteran to Arlington. That's actually not run by the VA. That's run by the Department of the Army. They have specific, you have specific requirements of me to be interred at Arlington. You either had to be killed in action or receive a valorous award of Silver Star or higher or Purple Heart recipient. And they're filling up quick. So anyone that's looking at Arlington, they're trying to do more and more with cremains in their columbarium wall. And every once in a blue moon, we see a Navy or a Marine veteran that wants to be interred or buried at sea. And the Department of the Navy has very specific rules and guidelines how they do burials at sea. And they don't let the family take part in that. You have to send the cremains to one of their areas. Seattle's the closest one. And they'll go out and do the internment for the burial at sea.
Got it. Thank you.
I see a question on here about specific dates for presumptive exposures for the Vietnam. So for VA purposes, Vietnam started in August 1964 and ran till May 5th, 1975. If they served in Vietnam as an advisor, that just got changed and moved to 1955 because we were sending troops as advisors with the South Vietnamese real early before we ever sent the 1st Battalion of Marines into Da Nang as the first official ground troops in there. So if they've served in Vietnam between the 1955 and 1975, the VA concedes exposure to the herbicides. The Blue Water Navy, you're looking at the 64 to 75. And one thing that I've found out doing this job, and I've been doing this for 9 years now since I retired out of the Marine Corps, some of these ships were off the coast of North Vietnam bombarding positions. The VA does not give a 12-mile buffer off the coast of North Vietnam. It's 12 miles off South Vietnam for the Blue Water because we weren't spraying herbicides into North Vietnam. We were spraying them with B-52s and carpet bombing the hell out of them. So if they were off the coast of North Vietnam, that Blue Water doesn't apply. So again, till May 5th, 1975, the VA has to confirm through the Department of the Navy the ship was within 12 nautical miles. The big dates was for the DMZ in Korea. Again, that was between 1968 and 1971. And the VA has a list of specific units that were along the DMZ in Korea, and they had to be with one of those specific units. Again, that's not always easy to prove. And then the air bases in Thailand, that goes for the same as boots on ground Vietnam. So that's 64 to May 5th, 75. Again, Thailand is a strange animal because if they were military police and can prove that the majority of their duties kept them on the perimeter of the air base, then the VA will concede it. Anything else, the VA will fight tooth and nail to say, no, you didn't meet the requirement. So when they did the Blue Water Vietnam herbicide presumptives, and that got approved about 2 years ago, they were supposed to approve Thailand service the same as Vietnam. They determined that was going to be too expensive and they weren't going to do it. So they pulled it out of there. But one of the things they did is if you are the adult child of someone who served in Thailand and you have spina bifida, you can get approved as an Agent Orange presumptive birth defect. So my argument when I represent people in their appeals to the Board of Veteran Appeals, how can they grant adult children of Thailand veterans Agent Orange presumptive birth defects? Because that means they were exposed to herbicides in Thailand, but yet we're not granting herbicide exposure to the veteran themselves. And that usually wins the argument and the Board of Veteran Appeals approves it. But again, if we have to go the appeal process, they're waiting 3-4 years to get a hearing with the Board of Veteran Appeal law judge. So that could take forever. And then the other date was if they served with the C-123 ground crew or air crew spraying or just working on the aircraft, that goes all the way to 1986 because they kept those aircraft in use with the Idaho Air National Guard. And there was people still working on those aircraft in 86. And that was a court victory where someone challenged it. They said they had herbicide presumptive conditions working on these aircraft, and the Court of Appeals of Veterans Claims agreed. That's where that came from, pushing that to 1986. And then the other presumption was the Camp Lejeune contaminated water. And it had to be from July 1953 till December 31st, 1987, 30 days or longer between that time frame, or 60 days combined. So those are the dates for those. What other questions yes, ma'am. MS is 7 years. It has to manifest to a 10% or higher disability rating within 7 years of leaving active duty. There's a bunch of presumptive conditions within 1 year of leaving active duty. So within 1 year, if they have traumatic arthritis of any of their joints, kidney stones, gout, heart conditions, high blood pressure, brain conditions, schizophrenia, within 1 year of leaving active duty, it's up to the veteran to provide all the medical evidence showing it manifested within 1 year and was severe enough that the VA could rate it 10% or higher. That'll be considered. For malaria, it has to manifest within 3 years of coming back from a country in which they were exposed, like Afghanistan or Panama. But nothing else has a time limit. Again, everything has its, but wait, there's more. Currently, the 38 CFR says the presumptive conditions to Southwest Asia from Desert Storm all the way to current day in Iraq. Currently, Afghanistan's not considered Southwest Asia. They have to have irritable bowel syndrome, chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, or the undiagnosed illnesses of Southwest Asia that has manifested, been treated 6 months or longer prior to December 31st, 2021. This date has changed like 5 times already. They keep pushing it farther and farther to the right, and I'm sure that's going to change again. So that's how that works. Absolutely. We play 20 questions with them and try to ask everything. If someone is not able to physically come into our office, we make house calls if they will have us at their house, and we'll send a service officer to their house to help them with any of the benefits. We do everything we can to help veterans and their family members. Any other questions?
I don't have a question, but I want to say thank you for always answering my calls and giving me information. It's nice meeting you in person.
Well, thank you. And I try to return calls as quick as I can, depending on the time of the year. I mean, it's crazy, and I'm trying to drag myself out at 6:30. I don't like leaving if I still got unanswered phone calls, but you're welcome. I appreciate that. Anything else? All right. Thank you for having me again. I appreciate it. And if anyone does have any questions, give me a call, send me an email, contact Travis. He'll get it over to me. Okay, cool. And everyone have a great day.
Thank you, guys. Pete, I have all these flyers and stuff back here. You want me to gather them all up and I can mail them to your Lewiston office?
Actually, I wanted to tell Phil that Stacy and Joe have been great service officers calling people in their homes, and they've been really helpful. So kudos to
Said he doesn't believe that at all.
them.
Well, thank you
Yeah, I'm
guys for
afraid
joining
I'm-
us.
Yes, thank you for the invite. I really appreciate it.
Yep.
So this happens quarterly, right?
Yep. Our next one's in October. And
Okay,
I'll
thank you.
send out some emails before then.
All right, thanks, Travis.
You're welcome. Appreciate it. You guys have a good day.
You too. Bye.